using Kenny Beecham's Enjoy Basketball NBA standings predictions to try and predict the way the Western Conference is going to shape out. All right, so off rip, I'm putting Golden State number one. I think they have way too much depth. Okay, that's how you do that. All right, they got way too much depth between veterans and young guys. You know, guys that got to prove themselves. They're playing for contracts like Kaminga, Wiseman, Moody. Those guys are looking to get paid. Jordan Poole just got paid. Andrew Wiggins just got paid. You know, they have to justify their contracts. Draymond Green, you know, is either trying out for another team or, you know, still trying to look good enough to get paid with Golden State. So a lot of guys have a lot of stuff to prove, and you still got Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who are just, you know, one of the most consistent players in the league. So I think they'll be number one. They got the youth to make it through a long season. They got the veteran presence to be able to kind of coast them through it. I think they'll get the number one seed. All right, so number two, I think I'm going to put Denver at number two. I think Denver has my number two spot. I think coming back with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and you still got the reigning MVP on your team. I think they'll have enough. They boosted their bench with guys like Bruce Brown. They still got Aaron Gordon. I think they have what it takes to snag that number two seed. Then number three, as much as it's gonna pain me to say it, I'm gonna have to put the Clippers at number three. They have way too much depth. Even if Kawhi Leonard doesn't play majority of the games, I think it'll be somewhere around like 50 games between knick-knack injuries and load management. So they'll probably be number three. They have way too much depth. I would list off all their players, but it's literally like their roster. Like any night, there can be any starting five. It doesn't matter who's out of the game. It's going to be a long night playing the Clippers. And will that translate to the playoffs? I don't know, but we'll see. All right, at number four, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. I think number four, I'm gonna go with a bit of a surprise pick, and I'm gonna go New Orleans. Now that I think most people might have that a little, might be a little high for most people, but I think they have too much scoring. They have way too much between CJ, Zion, Brandon Ingram. They got Valanciunas who can be a low post scorer. He's shown that he can hit three. I think he was leading the league in 3-point percentage at like the beginning of the season for a couple weeks. They got defense. They got Jose Alvarado. They got Trey Murphy. And I'm forgetting the other guy, Herb Jones. They have Herb Jones. They have way too much defense and offense and young guys. And similar to the Clippers, they have a lot of depth. They can go really deep into their bench, and I think that's really gonna help them as they progress through the season. And again, this is regular season. I am not saying that just because this team is four that they're gonna be in the Western Conference Finals or anything. The next, again, this is regular season. I am going to have the Minnesota Timberwolves coming in at five. I think they're young and they're hungry. I think Rudy Gobert wins you regular season games defensively. I think you look back like he majority of his career on the Jazz, and they didn't have nearly any of the offensive weapons except for Donovan Mitchell that the Timberwolves do. And I think with him anchoring the defense along with Cat, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, who's really streaky, and I think they didn't keep Jared Vanderbilt. They kept did they keep they kept Jalen McDaniels or Jared Vanderbilt, one of those guys. Either way, a very useful defensive player. Is very versatile. You can play him at your three, at your four. I think they'll be good for the regular season. I definitely don't think this team will translate to the playoffs because, as we saw last year, they can't they don't have enough experience to the point where they can hold a lead. They continuously got the lead last year in the playoffs, and they continuously let it slip. So I'm going to put them at five. Again, regular season record is what I'm basing this off of. All right, let's see. For six, I think six, I am going to have. I know a lot of people looking at their teams and they're like, he still hasn't put them on there. I'm gonna go Dallas. I'm gonna go Dallas with six. I think Luka and the addition of Christian Wood coming off the bench, They're getting Tim Hardaway Jr. back. They did lose Jalen Brunson, but they still have Spencer Dinwiddie. They signed, who's the guy? Um, they got Maxi Kleber to an extension. This team, like a lot of these other teams, a lot of depth, a lot of wing slash big depth. Where if one guy gets into foul trouble, one guy is out is out during the season for a short period of time. They won't really miss too many strides because they have guys who can step in and play that role. They have Dorian Finney-Smith, like I just mentioned, Maxi Kleber. They have plenty of depth that's going to be able to get them through the regular season. So then after that, now we're getting towards the play-in section. And I think this is where I'm going to have the Phoenix Suns. Not really high on the Phoenix Suns. Part of me wants to put them even lower. But I'm not going to let my bias get in the way. I just think Chris Paul is on the decline, and I think it's going to come very quickly. I don't think Mikal Bridges' offense is where it needs to be in order for them to keep their head afloat for an 82-game season, and keep them in that top six. And I surely don't think they're going to be 60. What they went 62 games, 60-something games last season. I don't see that happening again. So with Chris Paul on the decline, Devin Booker is going to have to overexert himself. And DeAndre Ayton has not shown that he's the type of player where you can throw the ball down to him on the block and he can go get you offense. So then Jay Crowder is trying to get out of town, so they're probably going to get barely anything back for him. Cam Johnson, good young player, but his offense relies a lot on other guys creating for him. Chris Paul creating for him, Devin Booker creating for him. And I just their depth is honestly non-existent. They lost JaVale McGee. Cam Payne wasn't looking like that first season where he really blossomed. So then he got paid, and I don't know where he's at now. I mean, he's on the team obviously, but like I don't see him when they play. I don't see him making an impact. I don't think he's in the rotation anymore. So that being, with all that being said, I don't think that in the regular season this team is going to really make any noise. I think it's going to be a tough regular season for them, and they're going through the whole Robert Sarver situation. I think it's going to be a long season, unfortunately, for the Phoenix Suns. And then we're going to get to number 8. Honestly, the play-in situation doesn't really matter all that much unless you have the 7th seed. But yeah, so let's see. I'll put Memphis right there. One of the big reasons why I know people are looking at this like Memphis is dropping a lot. And one of the reasons I didn't have Memphis too high is because Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to miss a decent portion of the year. And I think that that's going to really hurt them. I know Ja is phenomenal. Desmond Bane is phenomenal. Um, you know, but I think that's going to hurt them quite a bit. And although I do think all of these guys are going to be close, like this playoff race is going to be split by a game or two in majority of situations. So I'm not saying they're going to be a under 40, under 500 team or anything like that. But I do think that getting off to a slow start with no Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to really hurt them in such a competitive Western Conference. When you look at it, you got to go up against Cat, you got to go up against Valanciunas, you got to go up against all of these, other teams. But you got to have some versatility. When you get up against the Clippers and they're going to go small ball 5, Steven Adams has to come out the game. Usually they would leave Jaren Jackson in there, but you don't have that anymore. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Brandon Clark is going to come in. Yeah, Brandon Clark is going to come in and play and take that spot. But who's backing up Brandon Clark? Who's coming off the bench behind Brandon Clark? And is he really a bona fide, legitimate starting 4 in the league? I know he can hold it down, which he has. He's a very good player. But is he a 82-game starter for in the NBA? I'm not too sure. I'm not going to say yes or no on that. And then at the 9th, I'm gonna go put Portland Trail Blazers. I think they've made some good additions this year. I think Dame is gonna come back hungry, but I think at the end of the day, it's not really gonna matter all that much. I do like their team. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for them to crack into this top 8 with all of this talent up here. The Western Conference is very, very competitive this year. I think this is gonna be some of the best basketball we've seen in a very long time in the league. So then we're gonna go after that. I'll put the Lakers 10. I feel like they have to make it in there somehow, just for the ratings and the views. I think they'll make it. They'll slide into the 10, and then after this, the rest of this stuff is no one cares about these guys. But I'll put Sacramento 11. I think Oklahoma City will try to be worse than this, but I think they have some good young guys now, so they'll probably be a little higher. Then I go Houston. Utah is horrible, but they still haven't traded away their players for now. So for now, I think I'll put them here, and then San Antonio. I can probably name you one guy on this roster, and that's about it. All right, man. So get in the comments. Tell me what you think. This is, this is without any research. This is all off the top of the head. I didn't sit there and crunch any numbers. I might have forgotten that this player isn't playing or that player. So, get in the comments and tell me what you think, man. This is all just spur of the moment off the top of the head. Kind of how I think things will shape up to be. All right. Till next time. Appreciate you guys for watching.